Officer Derek Martinez thought he had all the power in the world when he pulled over the expensive sedan on that rainy Tuesday morning. He swaggered toward the vehicle with his hand resting on his weapon, ready to show another uppity driver who really ran these streets. His badge gleamed like a shield of invincibility. His uniform felt like armor against accountability. Until the window rolled down, and he found himself staring into the calm, measured eyes of a man who would change his life forever. The autumn rain drummed against the patrol car's windshield like nervous fingers, each drop reflecting the flashing red and blue lights that painted the quiet suburban street in urgent colors. "Step out of the vehicle," Martinez barked, his voice cutting through the gentle morning air like a rusty blade. The man behind the wheel moved slowly, deliberately, his hands visible at all times. He was tall, well-dressed in a crisp navy suit that probably cost more than Martinez made in a month. His dark skin seemed to irritate Martinez immediately, like a match striking against his prejudices. "Good morning, officer," the man said, his voice steady and professional. "May I ask why you pulled me over?" Martinez's jaw tightened. He hated when they asked questions. "Don't get smart with me. License and registration, now." The man reached into his jacket pocket with careful precision. Martinez's hand moved to his weapon. "Slowly," he hissed. "Real slowly." "Of course," the man replied, producing a leather wallet that looked expensive enough to feed a family for weeks. His movements were like those of a chess master, calculated and patient. He handed over his documents without a word. Martinez snatched the license and froze. The name read, Commander James Washington. His address was in the wealthy part of town, the part where Martinez had always felt like an outsider looking through mansion windows. But it was the small print that made his blood run cold. Active duty, 20-year veteran, distinguished service record. "You military?" Martinez asked, his voice losing some of its edge but maintaining its hostility. "Was," Washington replied. "Now I work in law enforcement." Martinez's laugh was bitter and sharp. "Right. Security guard at some mall, I bet. You people always try to make yourselves sound more important than you are." Washington said nothing. His silence was louder than any argument, more powerful than any protest. It was the silence of a man who had faced real battles, who had stared down actual enemies, who had earned every stripe on his invisible uniform through blood, sweat, and sacrifice. "You know what your problem is?" Martinez continued, pacing now like a predator circling its prey. "You people think you can just drive through my neighborhood in your fancy cars, acting like you belong. But I see right through you. I know what you really are." "And what's that, officer?" Washington asked, his voice still calm but carrying an undertone that Martinez was too blinded by his own hatred to recognize. "A wannabe, a pretender, probably bought this car with drug money or something illegal. No way you earned this honestly." Martinez's words dripped with venom that had been poisoning his soul for years. Washington's eyes narrowed slightly. For the first time, Martinez saw something flicker there. Not fear, not anger. Something far more dangerous. Disappointment. "Is that what you really think, Officer Martinez?" The use of his name sent a chill down Martinez's spine. He hadn't given his name. His nameplate was barely visible in the morning light. "How do you know my name?" "I make it my business to know the officers in my jurisdiction," Washington replied. His words fell like stones into still water, creating ripples that Martinez couldn't yet understand. "Your jurisdiction?" Martinez laughed, but it sounded forced now, hollow. "You're funny. Real funny. You know what? I think you're hiding something. Turn around. Hands on the car." Washington didn't move. "Officer Martinez, I'm going to ask you to think very carefully about your next actions. Are you threatening me?" Martinez's voice cracked like a whip, but there was uncertainty creeping in like fog rolling over a battlefield. "I'm trying to save your career," Washington said quietly. "And possibly your life." Martinez's radio crackled to life. All units, all units. Be advised, the new police chief is en route to headquarters for his first day. Commander James Washington, distinguished military veteran, will be taking over effective immediately. All personnel are to report to the main conference room at 0900 hours for introduction and briefing. The world stopped spinning. Martinez's face went white as fresh snow. His hands began to shake like autumn leaves in a storm. The radio fell from his trembling fingers and clattered to the wet pavement. The sound echoed in the sudden silence like a judge's gavel. "No," Martinez whispered. "No, no, no, this can't be happening." Washington straightened his tie with the same calm precision he'd shown throughout the entire encounter. "Officer Martinez, I believe we have a meeting to attend." Martinez's knees buckled. 20 years of service. 20 years of working his way up through the ranks. His pension, his family's future, his children's college funds. Everything was crumbling around him like a house of cards in a hurricane. "Sir, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The words tumbled out of his mouth like water from a burst dam. Washington studied him for a long moment. The rain had stopped, but the storm in Martinez's heart was just beginning. "Officer Martinez, do you have children?" "Yes, sir. 2 kids, a boy and a girl. They're in high school." "What do you tell them about right and wrong?" Martinez's voice cracked. "I tell them to treat people with respect, to judge people by their character, not their appearance." "And yet here we are," Washington said softly. "Here we are." The silence stretched between them like a chasm. Martinez could hear his own heartbeat, could feel his career slipping away like sand through his fingers. Everything he'd worked for, everything he'd built, was balanced on the edge of a knife. "Why?" Washington asked finally. "Why did you pull me over?" Martinez couldn't meet his eyes. Because you were driving while black in a nice car in a nice neighborhood, and I assumed you didn't belong." "And that assumption was based on what evidence?" "None," Martinez whispered. "None at all." Washington walked closer, his footsteps echoing on the wet asphalt. "Officer Martinez, I've seen real evil in this world. I've fought against it in places you can't imagine. I've watched good men die defending the innocent, and I've seen what happens when people let fear and hatred poison their hearts." Martinez was crying now, tears mixing with the morning mist on his cheeks. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm so sorry. I know I don't deserve it, but please don't fire me. Please. My family depends on me." Washington stopped just inches away. "Look at me, officer." Martinez raised his eyes, expecting to see anger, hatred, the desire for revenge. Instead, he saw something that broke his heart even more. He saw compassion. He saw a man who had every right to destroy him, but was choosing mercy instead. "Officer Martinez, I could end your career right now. I could have you arrested for harassment, for racial profiling, for abuse of power. I could make sure you never wear a badge again." "I know, sir, but I'm not going to do that." Martinez's head snapped up. "Sir? Because that wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't change your heart. It wouldn't heal the sickness in your soul. It would just make you a victim, and victims don't learn, they just get angry." Washington reached into his pocket and pulled out a small photograph. It showed him in military uniform, arm in arm with a white soldier. Both men were smiling, covered in dust and exhaustion, but radiating brotherhood. "This is my partner from Afghanistan, Staff Sergeant Mike O'Brien. Boston Irish, tough as nails, prejudiced as hell when I first met him. He didn't want to work with me because I was black. I didn't want to work with him because he was a racist." Martinez stared at the photo. "We were forced to work together. And slowly, day by day, mission by mission, we learned to trust each other. We learned that the color of a man's skin tells you nothing about the color of his heart. Washington's voice grew softer. Mike saved my life in Kandahar, took a bullet meant for me, and when I carried him to safety, he looked up at me and said, "I'm sorry I judged you. You're the best man I've ever known." Is he? He's alive. He's a police officer too, actually, in Boston. We still talk every week. Washington smiled. His daughter calls me Uncle James. Martinez felt something breaking inside his chest, not his heart, something deeper, something that had been hard and cold and poisoned for so long he'd forgotten what it felt like to be human. "Officer Martinez, I'm giving you a choice. You can transfer to another department and continue being the same man you've always been, or you can stay here and become the man you're meant to be." "I want to change," Martinez whispered. "I want to be better. I want to be the man my children think I am." Washington nodded. "Then we start today. But I want you to understand something. This isn't just about you. This is about every person you'll encounter for the rest of your career. This is about the trust that's been broken between the police and the community. This is about healing wounds that have been festering for generations." Martinez straightened his shoulders. "What do you need me to do, sir?" "First, you're going to personally apologize to every person you've wronged, every traffic stop motivated by prejudice, every person you've treated as less than human. We're going to find them, and you're going to make it right." Martinez nodded. "Yes, sir." "Second, you're going to become my liaison to the community. You're going to help me build bridges where there have only been walls. You're going to prove that people can change, that redemption is possible." "I won't let you down, sir." Washington extended his hand. "This is your chance to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Don't waste it." Martinez shook his hand, and for the first time in years, he felt hope. Real hope. Not the false hope of getting away with something, but the deep, abiding hope of becoming something better. "Chief Washington," Martinez said, the title feeling strange but right on his tongue. "Thank you for giving me a second chance." "Officer Martinez, we all deserve a second chance. The question is what we do with it." As they walked back to their vehicles, Martinez felt the weight of his prejudices lifting from his shoulders like shackles falling away. The morning sun broke through the clouds, painting the wet street in golden light. It was a new day, a new beginning. 6 months later, Martinez stood in the same spot where his old life had ended and his new life had begun. He was training a new recruit, a young black woman fresh out of the academy. She was nervous, excited, ready to make a difference. "Remember," he told her, "every person you meet is someone's child, someone's parent, someone's hope for the future. Treat them with the respect they deserve, not the suspicion they don't." She nodded, absorbing every word like a sponge. "And remember this," Martinez continued, his voice thick with emotion. "Sometimes the person who saves your life is the person you least expect. Sometimes the person who changes your heart is the person you almost destroyed." Chief Washington's words echoed in his mind like a prayer. We all deserve a second chance. The question is what we do with it. Martinez had spent his second chance building bridges instead of walls. He'd spent it healing instead of hurting. He'd spent it becoming the man his children always believed he was. As he watched the new recruit drive away on her first patrol, Martinez smiled. Change was possible. Redemption was real. And sometimes, the most powerful force in the world wasn't a gun or a badge, or even the law itself. Sometimes it was simply the courage to forgive. The rain had stopped completely now. The sun was shining. And somewhere in the distance, a new story was beginning. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it reminded you that people can change, and that compassion is more powerful than hatred, then hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that matter. Because in a world full of division, we need more stories about bridges. We need more stories about hope. We need more stories about the courage to forgive and the strength to change. Your engagement helps these messages reach more people who need to hear them. Together we can build a better world, one story at a time.